Church, I want y'all to know what's going on. So every so often, every few months, it seems like, we've had the opportunity to talk to people who are out doing ministry in this world. They're out in the field. They're missionaries of some kind. There's something going on with what they're doing. So today is one of those days. And please make yourselves at home. So today we're focusing on college and young adult ministry out there. And what we have here is just a couple of people out of several that our congregation is somehow connected to who are doing college or young adult ministry. And so we wanted to talk with them. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. But this is Craig Brown Jr. Y'all welcome Craig. And this gentleman over here needs no introduction. But I'll introduce him anyway. Y'all know Father Christopher Jones. Welcome. So, by the way, we are going to have a forum after church. This is kind of a teaser for that, and we're going to give you good information. But for you to find out more and be able to get a little bit more in depth with what they do, what the Lord is doing in their ministries, how you can be involved, we're going to grab a snack after church and head into the front classroom. Emma Thompson will be joining us as well because she is also out on the field and doing work out there on college campuses. So, but the first thing that I want our people to know is really who you are, who are you working with, what is it that you do in the realm of college and or young adult ministry. Craig.
Hi, yes, I'm Craig. I am going on staff with the Navigators ministry at the University of South Florida. Our work there is focused on, our mission statement is to know Christ, make him known, and help others do the same. So we do that by just focusing on building relationships with students, introducing them to Jesus, and discipling them.
Hi, my name is Christopher Jones. Thank you for having me here today.
We're glad.
In the fall of 2024, a number of us planted what's called Anglican Campus Fellowship, which is a distinctly Anglican presence on the University of North Florida. We have three main goals. One, to make and raise up leaders for the church. And we do that through evangelism and all kinds of growth opportunities. We want to make a pipeline of leaders, and we want the church to be able to come together with the college campus. And through that, we want a pipeline of young people into our churches. And then the third thing is that we share our charisms as Anglicans as others have shared with us. There's something unique about being an Anglican, and we think that it can help the wider body.
Amen. All right, so I want to dive just a little bit deeper in there. So Craig, first of all, you've been around Navigators for a little while now. By the way, Craig, also tell us your connection to Anglican world when you answer this. But then you get involved in Navigators. Tell us briefly what that was like for you. You know, what did God do through that? And then why have you decided, I mean, you could have gone anywhere and done anything. Why are you going to Tampa to do this, right?
Yeah, so I'll answer the Anglican part first. I've been around the Anglican church really my whole life. My dad is an ordained Anglican priest, so I've been to Dynamos and Araminta and all those things, so well connected. And so with the Navigators, I went to the University of Florida over the past 4 years, and I was involved with them as a student leader over those 4 years, and really was impacted greatly by the ministry. I was really personally discipled a lot and grew a lot in my faith and in my boldness and ability to reach people with the gospel. I think God really did a lot of work and growth in me and in my heart, and did that through that ministry. And I was also, God gave me the opportunity to personally disciple a couple young men and read the Bible with them, and that was just such a blessing and something I really loved, and that's a big part of why I decided to go on staff, is so I could continue discipling young men on college campuses.
Very good. And Father Christopher, I mean, there are a lot of people that could have been tasked with what you're doing on the college campus. Is this something that you chose, or it was chosen for you, and why you?
I'm still asking that question. So it was actually one of the priorities that I wanted to do when I took the role. So for those of you who don't know, I am canon for Next Generation Ministries in our diocese. And it's one of the things that I wanted us to start. I have a heart for university students. It was in university when I myself walked away from the Lord. There was never a time when I didn't believe in him, but I acted like I didn't. And I have some friends who were in the same position. It was up through, high school, you have your community and all that, and it's kind of easy to stay around in the church world. But then when you get off on your own, it becomes more tenuous. And so I realized that there is a felt need to reach those on university campuses with the transforming love of Jesus.
Amen. Okay, so next question starts to delve into how do you communicate with these folks? What college ministry or young adult ministry is not like doing children's ministry. It's not like doing seniors ministry. It has its own flavor. So today in our readings, you may have detected a theme going on. Like it said in Ecclesiastes, the teacher, King Solomon, tried all kinds of things to find fulfillment and found out it was just all hollow, it was all worthless. But he tried power, and he tried wealth and success, and he tried relationships, shallow or not. He tried knowledge, and he found that none of the things that he tried out of this long list that we could create were actually fulfilling. And yet, my suspicion is that most college students are going to college, most young adults who are going out in the world to get a job want wealth, they want relationships, shallow or deep, they want power, they want respect, they want that list. And they don't know yet that it's hollow. And so here is this interesting conundrum. How do you communicate with them? How do you reach out to them? What is it like to do campus ministry or young adult ministry, given this background?
I think definitely what I saw in college students was that searching for those earthly temporary things to satisfy a lot of them. When I talk with people on campus, they were ambitious, they wanted to achieve, they wanted to have good success, or maybe they were even just fearful that if they didn't have those things, they'd fall behind. Maybe it wasn't ambition, it was fear that was driving them. Either way, they were just searching for fulfillment and satisfaction from many things. And I think as a result of that, the Lord really gave us a lot of people who had open minds to hearing what we had to communicate about the gospel, how they could find satisfaction, fulfillment, rest, love from relationship with the Lord. And so I think it's just a matter of listening to them, hearing what's on their heart, what needs they feel, and just expressing to them how the Lord can fulfill those needs.
I used to be a pescatarian, not an Episcopalian, a pescatarian. And a pescatarian doesn't eat meat. Recently, within the last 6 months-ish, I started eating meat again. and I've been on what I'm calling well, I don't want to call it a burger binge, but I've been eating a lot of hamburgers, right? I've discovered hamburgers, and they're awesome. And I realized that different places have different awesome hamburgers. And so as I'm trying out different hamburgers, I said, well, let me try McDonald's. When I was a kid, and that's the last time I ate a McDonald's hamburger. As a kid, I ate McDonald's hamburgers. I don't remember them being all that great, but whatever, I'll try now because I'm eating hamburgers again. And so I went to McDonald's, and I went to Wendy's, and I went to Burger King, and I realized they're terrible. They're not good at all. And I thought to myself, well, I guess that's why I wasn't so big on hamburgers before I stopped eating meat, because they're not great. But now they're awesome, and I probably have one at least once a week. And I realize that community is much the same way. I think a lot of people are eating McDonald's and Wendy's and Burger King, and they haven't yet tasted a real good 100% beef flame-broiled burger. I think when you taste a real thing, there's a difference, and you're hooked on it. When we're on the campus of UNF, our hope is that we give people the real thing, a taste of what community is really like, not a watered-down McDonald's or Burger King. And if you like that, I'm not trying to pick on you. They're just not tasty. But what we're trying to do is give them something real, something where their eyes are open. They're like, wait a minute, I actually do like community, and this is the kind of community that I want to be in. And that's, quite frankly, I don't want to get into some of our other questions, but quite frankly, that's what most of everyone is looking for, but particularly university students. They're looking for deep, meaningful community, community that lasts, community that doesn't judge them, but community that's ready to come around them in the toughest time, and community that's willing to rejoice with them in the good times.
If you have something that you think of you want to add, just jump in. All right, so Reverend, I'm going to come back to you and then to Craig. What do you see as the greatest felt needs among this group? It may be community. It may be lunch. I'm thinking a lot more about lunch after what you said. But what are the greatest felt needs that are among this current generation? And what is it important for us as a church to understand about this generation?
Well, the first thing is community, and I can't stress that enough. In evangelism literature, it's frequently said that people become part of the community. They belong before they believe, and I've just witnessed that time and time again when we did campus ministry in Tallahassee, when we planted a church again in Tallahassee. People were around before they believed. And as a matter of fact, we have some folk in our little fellowship now who are in different places in their faith, but they found something that they want to keep coming back to, and so they're belonging. So that's kind of the first thing. I think the second thing, and I won't keep going. I'll let you get in here. When I was a graduate student, I worked at a gas station. And people would come in and they would always talk about, oh, you're so happy, you're so happy. It was all a front. No, I was. But the folk I worked with, they tended to not be so much. And as I began to think about this after I had left, I realized that I knew that my future was something different. I was in grad school. I knew that I was going to go ahead and get a job somewhere and do something that was meaningful to me. I realized that with many of my coworkers, that was it. They couldn't see beyond that particular job. And I think for them, not having hope put them in a different place than me. I think with our university students, if they don't have a vision for the future, of a real future with real hope, they will sometimes squander their years, they'll flounder about. But when we introduce them to Jesus and the real hope of a real future, I think that changes things up.
Yeah, I'd agree with Father Christopher. Community is so vital. I think I've heard from so many of the students who were a part of our ministry at the University of Florida that they were attracted at first to our ministry, them being non-believers at the time, like because of the way that we loved one another well. A lot of them were telling me how they hadn't experienced that ever in their life, of a real group of people who, like a real friend group who actually loves one another intentionally. And so that was something that impacted a lot of people who I've known. And I think it's a great way to bring people in, and they're definitely yearning for that. And so hope as well is huge. I've talked to people who they were putting their hope in things that didn't really give them hope. They were, ending up in despair. And so I think were really needing what we had to offer as far as a relationship with Jesus that brings them real hope and just something to bring light into their life.
All right. I don't know the statistics. I just know it's dramatic that if someone doesn't come to Christ by the time that they're 20 or by the time they graduate 18, y'all are working too late in so many ways. Sorry to tell you that. But if people don't come to the Lord by that time, the chances of them coming to the Lord in any meaningful way are very slim. Now, I know that we're in a room where there are a lot of people who have come to the Lord after that time, right? Can I get an amen from some of you who have done that? Amen. So we're not without hope, right? And what they're doing matters. Here's something that I'm seeing going on. Y'all may have seen the same thing. Do you remember hearing, a couple of years ago about the big revival going on the seminary campus? Yeah? It was a big deal. It was nationwide news, and people streaming there from all over. Have you heard about baptisms that are going on college campuses now, where hundreds are being baptized at the same time? It happened out in Texas, and it's happened at Auburn. And I'm like, come on, Georgia, we need Georgia in this, right? But it's happening in places, not every place, but in a lot of places. Have you heard about this going on? Yeah? There is something that God is doing among this age group demographic here. So my question for you is, here you're about to go to Tampa. You have been at UNF. Huh? No, UF. I'm brother. Okay. Yeah, I'm not doing it. UF and UNF is where this ministry is starting up. That's going to be a pattern, hopefully, for all over. But have you seen evidence of God stirring in this generation where you are? Tell us a little bit about it if you have.
I can't say I've seen anything quite so dramatic as what you were describing, but I definitely experienced more open-mindedness in the students who we talked to than I expected. Coming into college, I thought there'd be a lot of hostility, but didn't really find as much as I was thinking there would be. We'd go out in the Navigators and just go and ask people questions about what they believe and kind of use that as an opportunity to open doors to a gospel conversation. And God definitely opened up a lot of people's hearts to hear us, and that was wonderful and very encouraging. Had a lot more people wanting to listen to what we had to say about Jesus than I thought.
And you may want to comment on this. Let me throw out a quote. Emma Thompson, who's going to be here in a little while, Rhonda's daughter, is with the Navigators as well. When I was talking with her, this is the quote she came out with. Just, this generation is the most curious about Jesus in several generations, but is skeptical of religion. What does that mean, and do you agree? I mean, is that what you see?
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, well, good question. What does that mean? It means people are open to Jesus, more or less. They are okay with that kind of belief in God, but I think that organized religion has not appealed to them as much, whether that's because of how the church has presented itself in different ways, or maybe they've had church hurt in the past. That's pretty big for several people that I've talked to at UF, but there's just a hesitancy to I guess, join a more organized religious group.
Okay. Reverend?
That's exactly what Emma said, was exactly what I was going to say. We are seeing more people open to conversations about Jesus than before. In this postmodernism, I think people are, which I actually think is probably going back to pre-modernism, where you find students who've not actually heard the gospel message, if you can think about it, right? Because I think we grew up in a time, or we're growing up in a time where you've heard something about Jesus, you've been to church, or whatever, but I'm encountering people who've never heard anything about Jesus right here in America, which can be a bit shocking, but also exciting, because now I think we're in a place where people are not being inoculated to the gospel. And what I mean by that is, when people hear something about Jesus or something about the church, and they've made their decision about it, they put up their defenses to it. But now we're in a place where people have not been inoculated, and you're able to preach the gospel to Jesus and see people's lives changed. On UNF's campus, we seem to have, it's a weird combination, some of our students can tell you, we seem to have an in with the skaters and with the fraternities. I don't know how. It's the Lord's doing. It's not what we went for, but it's what the Lord is opening up, and so that's what we're trying to pray into and reach deeper into those communities. And I saw, man, I'm doing a lot of talking, Pat. See, this is why you can't put a preacher in a panel, because they keep talking. I'll say this one thing, and then I'll be quiet. One of the movements that we saw, Christian News covered it. It was before the Asbury revival, but there were a ton of students in Illinois who were flocking to our churches in Illinois, and they kind of dubbed it like the young liturgical movement, or whatever it was that they called. But we're starting to see people who are open to hearing about Jesus and open to coming and seeing what's going on in our churches. So.
Yeah, and I want to just say absolutely, it is more surprising almost to be on campus doing evangelism and talk to someone who isn't Christian but does understand what you're saying and has heard the gospel before, than it is to meet someone who's never heard any of that. And so I think a lot of people come in really open-minded to college, wanting to expose themselves to different perspectives and ideas, and so that makes them open to hearing what we have to say, because they haven't heard it before and they want to learn new things and new ideas. And so that's been an open door for us a lot of times. And also a really unique thing about college campuses is you get a lot of international students, and a lot of them are from very religious backgrounds and have a lot of different ideas about spiritual things, and so they're open to hearing you more so than maybe your average American atheist might be. And so that's also been a really encouraging opportunity that God's given us to minister to international students.
Very good. All right. Church, there's a lot that not only can be said, but that needs to be said and understood. And what I want to encourage you to do is to keep ministries like this in prayer, especially the ones that are connected with us at All Souls and as Anglicans. Keep this stuff in prayer. But also I want to encourage you, come and find out some more and ask some more questions about the nuts and bolts of what's going on. One of the things that I want to talk about up front after, in our forum is what can a church like All Souls do that helps? I mean, I don't think that we're looking at a room full of people who are supposed to show up every week on college campuses to help you, but some of us are.
If y'all want to.
Yeah, we have young adults here who are participating in both of these things, right? But what can we do as a church that would actually be helpful in this on college campuses and also here when it comes to ministry to young adults and college students? So we'll save that for the forum. But for now, church, I appreciate that they've come. Would you show your appreciation for what they're doing? Amen. Y'all, thank you very much for your time, and we'll look forward to hearing more in just a little while about this, okay?